Hey y'all, I'm attorney Ify. I'm here live for the next 30 minutes. Let's discuss the recent immigration changes and how it affects you. If you're just joining, feel free to share this live with your friends, your fellow immigrants who are confused right now because there's been a lot of noise, a lot of changes that's affecting each and every one of us. So let's discuss. This is a safe space where you can share and ask questions and talk about how these changes are affecting you. I'm going to add people in my group. Let's see, maybe that won't work today, but I'm going to come live every Thursday evening like this, so we can have conversations about immigration changes and just answer your pressing immigration questions at this time. It is certainly very challenging, and I don't have all the answers. But again, this space is for you all to vent, share your concerns, and there might be someone watching in the comments who has a solution. So we're a community of immigrants helping one another to grow in this time and to feel secure and to make plans for our family because some of the plans, some of the pathways, some of the options that you had before do not exist right now. They've been paused, canceled outright, or just delayed. So there's a lot of uncertainty on where to go next for people. And hopefully, after watching this live, you have some clarity and understand that a lot of the changes happening may not even affect you. It's just really noise and part of the tactics that every administration will use to scare the people into doing whatever it is they want. So in this administration, it's all about immigration. And if the president is able to make new policies, or the lawmakers are able to make new policies and really instill fear in immigrants and also US citizens, they can achieve what it is they want. So in this live, I'll talk to you about some of the visa restrictions, especially the most recent one that's going to start next week. I believe on January 21st is when it's going to actually kick in. So let's talk about that one because that's the most recent one. And I've been getting lots of questions today at my firm, people wanting to know how this is going to affect them, especially people who already finished the first part of their application. Their I-29F got approved, their I-130 got approved, and now it's time for stage 2 for them to get the visa. So they're concerned, how does this restriction affect me? So if you're in that category and you're watching right now, feel free to ask questions and we can try to come up with solutions and plans that can help us have peace of mind, because that's the most important thing. If you lose your mind and lose yourself, then none of this matters, okay? So we're going to discuss how that new change is going to affect you, some of the countries it's affecting, and what that really means for you. I see some of you joining in right now, but I can't really see your name. So you can feel free to comment your name, where you're watching from, and don't forget to share this live with your friends. So in my previous live last week, I said to you all, immigrants, that the number one thing you needed to stop doing this year, if you wanted to see any change or improvement in your life, is to stop watching the news. And I still stand by that because the media is really one of the tools that this administration uses to put fear into people. There are different stories that don't necessarily align with your situation, but they're talking about it. People are getting picked up, arrested, deported, all that stuff. So certainly going to instill fear in lots of people. If you have a pending interview coming up, I've seen many people wanting to cancel their interviews because they don't want to get picked up. And that's legitimate, right? Because you see other people getting picked up. But the thing about immigration changes and immigration rules is that it may not always apply to you the same way it applies to someone else, right? Every case is very different. Your circumstances on how you actually came into the US is different. Circumstances on your criminal records is different. circumstances on your relationship with your spouse is different, right? Are we going with a self petition? Is this an I-130 petition? What kind of evidence do we need, right? So all of that stuff matters in how the new laws are going to affect you. So make sure you are connecting with a professional to get that direction for yourself, and avoid the news at all costs. It's just, there's no point, right? You can Google the information, just look up what you need to find. Join my live every Thursday, right? Get some information from a licensed attorney, right? But watching the news day in and day out, trying to find some solutions there, you're just not going to find it. It's just going to make you even more scared. Okay, so I hope that this information gives you some peace of mind and not panic, because my goal is always to protect immigrants' mental health and allow you to grow and follow your dreams, right? That's always my goal. So, hello. Hi. Live? Yeah.
Supposed to be over.
I'm live, Chef.
Yeah.
So, we can talk about that in a little bit.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
I don't know. So try. I don't know what. I'll tell you, shall we? If I can.
Oh. All right, so I have some notes here. Let's see. Why the news feels scarier, like I just said, it's really just trends and people trying to, make things just more than what it is, right? There's a lot of shifts, a lot of delays, lots of changes, yes. But again, if you're not part of the countries that are affected, right, there's no need to panic. You just need to look at the list. Now, there's a list of 75 countries, right, for the new immigrant visa restriction. 75 countries are going to go through a series of vetting before they're going to be allowed to apply for immigrant visas in the future. So that's really what's going on with these countries. It's not even a permanent ban. It's really just a pause in green card applications for people in those countries. And so once they figure out whatever it is, I believe this particular restriction is about public benefits and public charge. We know that this administration is fond of doing stuff like that when it comes to people getting government benefits, right? So they want to make sure that these new immigrants coming in meet the income requirement, their family members meet the income requirement, and they will actually be able to, They'll actually be able to contribute, right, to the United States once they get here. So that's the whole thing about these 75 countries. So if you're one of those people waiting right now, you have a spouse or fiance who's in a different country under those bans, just understand that it is not a permanent thing. It's really just to vet those countries, vet those applications, and make sure that the applicants are qualified. They've done this before in 2020. If you'll remember, there was a public charge rule that made immigration a lot harder, with applicants getting disqualified because they have received government benefits, or maybe their spouse has received government benefits, right? So that happened, and then we had a new administration that changed all of that, right? All of these things, again, is political. It's nothing that is permanent. A lot of the changes, and they don't even affect cases that have already been filed and are pending, for the most part, right? For the most part, this is about new applications. So if you already applied, you're already, in line and waiting, you have a higher chance of seeing your decision pretty soon versus those who have not applied at all. So if you don't get anything out of this live, just understand that if there's anything you qualify for right now for immigration, you should go ahead and apply, because as time goes on, we just do not know what kind of changes are going to happen. So instead of freezing and hiding, it's best to apply for what you qualify for within the safe parameters. Don't do anything that will put you out there and make you, maybe you have to travel back to your country, for example. That may not be the best thing to do right now, because you don't know what's going to happen. Once you leave, there might be like nobody's coming in, for indefinitely or for a period of time, whatever, right? You just don't want to take those chances. So apply for what you can right now while you're in the US, if you're already here, and make sure you have a professional guiding you through. Because it's not just about forms anymore, guys. You've seen it. It's not just about forms. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, a lot that happens at these interviews, right? Throughout 2025, I was attending interviews like pretty much every month, because they're, at this point, everyone is going to have an interview. And for a reason too, because they're picking people up at the interviews. So that's a real thing that is happening. So get a professional. Instead of being afraid or canceling an interview or hiding, get a lawyer, face whatever it is. Even if you get placed in removal proceedings is only an opportunity for you to present your relief to a judge. Really? That's what it is. It's not immediate deportation. Okay, it's a proceeding, it's a process. So be mindful of all these changes that may not apply to you. Okay? So if you're worried about yourself or your loved ones, right, don't make any sudden travel plans. Again, like I said, if your visa application is going to require you to leave the country, then re-enter, that may be risky right now. So talk to a lawyer before you make those types of moves, right? If you've already applied and you're just in the US waiting, make sure you have copies of your original notices, right? This is the only way that you can prove your status. If someone is harassing you and wanting to know your status, you actually do not need to answer that question. I've seen it on the news all the time, like, are you a US citizen, or those type of questions. You really don't have to answer those questions, because it really has nothing to do with anything. They want your ID, you can give them your ID, but make sure you have proof of everything that you filed, everything that you qualify for, because there are still rules. As much as they want us to think that there are no rules, there are still rules. People are suing the government every day and getting results. So, don't be afraid. It's all just scare tactics to keep immigrants from actually going for what they deserve. Okay, and on this page, I'm teaching immigrants to always go for what they deserve, right? You have to be bold and have faith, because you are a child of God, right? You're placed here for a purpose. You don't need to back down, all right? So get clarity on your individual case. Again, every change does not affect everyone, right? I think last year, sometime in December, there was a restriction, a different type of ban, which is different from this one coming up on the 21st, right? There was a restriction on non-immigrant visas, right? B1, B2 visas, and had people freaking out and just wondering, is it going to affect me, the country? And then at that point, it wasn't even affecting immigrant visas. So I had the opportunity to help some people get through that fear. Like, listen, if you're already in the US right now and you're married to a US citizen, you potentially still qualify. And for those people who didn't take action at that point, now this is January, a whole month later, they've now placed a ban on immigrant visas, which is the actual green card. So the times when you're worried about one thing and you're holding back, you never know what other changes can come down the pipeline that could still affect you negatively. So it's best that you take action now that you see things clearly for what they are, knowing that these restrictions are not permanent. They're really just a political vice, right, to keep people trapped and confused and scared. And when you're trapped, confused, and scared, guess who's happy? Guess who's happy? The adversary. Because no work is getting done. No one is focusing on their purpose. Everyone is just hiding and scared. And that's exactly what the adversary wants to do. The adversary is Satan, the enemy, whatever, evil spirits, whatever you call it, but just the opposing side of life, right? Because we're here, placed here for a purpose, and then there's the adversary. There always has to be an adversary. But your job, your goal is to not get carried away by those tactics. Don't get carried away. Just connect yourself with what's real and what's true and leave the rest. That's really how you defeat the adversary, right? Because in these difficult times is when you're going to really come out your best self, all right? Think back to 2020 and how that went. And this is 6 years later. Look at where you are right now. Look at your life. And you see that out of pain, out of struggle can come great things as long as you don't allow it to take you out, okay? So don't allow the adversary to take you out by false narratives, by fear, fake news, this stuff that is not of God, okay? God has not given us a spirit of fear, but he has given unto us a spirit of sound mind, right? And you can take it, you can take control by just giving everything back to God and doing what you need to do here with the tools available for you here. That's all you can do. Okay? I hope someone is getting something tonight from this session. I don't see any comments, or maybe I'm just missing the comments, but if you have any questions about your process, what you're going through right now, feel free to ask me in the comments. This is a time where we're going to share and be open and feel safe that we have a community, right? Because together we are stronger. They want us to be divided. They want us to hide. They want us to be anxious, but that's just not going to work. Tallman, are you okay? That's my cat. Are you okay? Okay, so let's talk about these 4 categories of people, right, and how this affects you. Because again, immigration laws is changing rapidly, but it just doesn't always affect certain case types, especially with your location. Location matters. Your stage matters, like where you are in this process. If you already had your interview, right, you're just waiting for a decision right now. They most likely will not be delaying that decision or pausing your decision just because of the new changes. In fact, the 75 countries that were just announced, that's not going into effect until like the next 6 days or so. So applications are still going through. People are still applying. Things are still happening, right? So all of this, again, tactic. So if you're outside the U.S. planning to travel, or you have an interview coming up, right? Listen up. This ban will most likely affect you. Rather, let me say it this way. This restriction, because it's not a full ban, it is a restriction until these countries can actually improve their vetting process for the applicants, or improve the way that they determine if someone, wouldn't be a public charge. That's just what it is. So very soon we'll see these things fall off. Again, it's political. By the time they start to have conversation with all the other leaders, they will come up with something. And, before you know it, you hear another change. Okay, so if you are outside the U.S., planning to travel, you have a visa interview, right, this will most likely affect you. So you need a plan B. If you are planning to come here for a visit to see your children or your spouse, whatever your reason is, you may need to find a third country that you could visit easily and, still build your family, still do what you need to do, and just avoid any complications with immigration. All right, there's Mexico, there's Canada. Those are all in North America, just not the 50 states. All right, so plan that and see how that works for you all. If you are inside the U.S. with a pending case and you're from one of these countries, right? I haven't mentioned the names of these countries. I wrote them down somewhere today. There's 75 of them, so it's a lot, okay? I was hoping that during this live we could chat about some of the countries. Like if you comment, I would, talk about your country. But I know Nigeria is on there. I know Ghana is on there, right? I know there are several countries. Like, it's actually ridiculous. So we'll go over that list in a little bit. But if you are inside the U.S. with a pending case, this most likely will not be affecting you because you already got your receipt notice, you got your work permit, most likely. And if there's going to be any delays or vetting, or what's the word when they have to, it's like vetting, but they're going to do it again, like review, right? Review old cases. I mean, they're going to review old cases for certain countries. That's something they've said as well, right? It doesn't really affect you because your case is already pending. They're not going to automatically deny your case and now deport you. Your case is just pending. That's what it is. So if you have your work permit, just be thankful about that. Work, live your life. Life is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Life is happening now. Okay? Don't wait for any immigration paperwork to actually live your life. That's the mistake that many immigrants make. And they end up frustrated, sad, depressed. And it's just not a good sight. It's just not something that we want to see in 2026. So this year, we're going for everything that we deserve. And we're going to be thankful for the things that we have currently. If you're not in ICE detention, be thankful about that. If you have a work permit, be thankful about that. If you have a U.S. citizen spouse, be thankful about that. Because even if you got picked up or you have any type of removal proceedings, you have a qualified relative that could potentially help with your relief. Whether it's a cancellation of removal, whether it's a spousal visa application or a green card. Because there are countries that are not on the list, okay? So as much as there are 75 countries on the list, there are countries that are not on the list. All right. I talked to someone today who has a fiance in the Philippines, and I looked at the list, and the Philippines is actually not on the list for any type of restriction. So there you go. Imagine if he was scared, he heard the news, and he didn't reach out to an attorney, he wouldn't have known that. He would just be like, how's this going to affect me? Can I bring my fiance here? You know, we've been together, we want to start our lives, yada, yada, yada. He didn't think any of that. He just called me. You know, he's like, I'm about to take a trip to the Philippines, and I just want to know, you know, what it is I need to do to be able to bring my fiance here. And I was able to break it down for him and look through the list of countries, and, you know, it wasn't there. So I was like, you know what? Do you, okay? You should be able to apply for the petition. It's a two-step process. Apply for the first step. That takes about a year. So within that year, you know, God knows what could happen. So I'm not sure why, you know, Facebook is not really streaming, but I think this is on YouTube, which is fine. So next time, next Thursday, we're going to talk more about the changes. We're going to see what's happening then. You know, it'll be, I don't know what date it'll be then. Maybe it's already the 21st. And then we can see what changes have been made at that time, right? It'll be the 22nd. So that date will have passed. So we'll know what really went down, okay? There's no magical answers right now. You just have to know how to protect yourself in your category, okay? So if you're someone with lawful status already, let's say you have your 2-year green card, right? But you happen to be from one of these countries. Again, this does not affect you because you already have your status. You already applied. You've been vetted, all of that. It doesn't affect you, at least not right now. Okay. I've heard that some U.S. citizens who are from some of these countries are facing discrimination, which is bizarre. This is why the government is getting sued. Like, imagine being a U.S. citizen, naturalized, but you're from Venezuela, and then they refuse to let you apply for your spouse. So just basically restrict your application in one way or another. Bullshit, right? That needs to stop. And with all the lawyers that we have right now opposing the government, we have certain immigration lawyers who are specifically positioned to actually sue the government and fight for human rights and all of these rights that protect us from the government. So those are the things we're working on right now to make sure that people are still able to maintain their status. And if you already became a citizen, you don't lose it, right? As a permanent resident, that's a whole different thing because you're not quite a citizen of the country. But as a U.S. citizen, it doesn't matter what type of restrictions are on your country that should now be affecting your ability to apply for your spouse. Like, it just make sense. Like, it doesn't just add up. But they want to review and re-review whatever, all these applications from people from all these countries. So a lot's going on. Just protect your status. Just know that nobody can take away your status without due process. So if you're already in status right now, these changes don't really affect you, but just be aware that if anything were to happen, you have due process, you have rights. Okay? All right, so let's talk about family-based cases versus humanitarian-based cases. All right, well, this is not really a category, but it's more like if you have a pending case, right? If it depends on what type of category you're in, that's how you're going to be treated. If you have a humanitarian case, right, you may not have a work permit, but you do have a receipt notice. If you have a family-based case, maybe you have a work permit. That serves as an ID. So that already protects you more. Humanitarian cases, there's a different type of scrutiny and discretion they have to apply. You do not have to disclose to any officers or anyone that, oh, I have a pending valid case or whatever. It's really not their business. Okay, just show your ID. And if they want to talk more or they want to ask you more questions and say, I have a lawyer, do you have a warrant? I need to talk to my lawyer. And don't say anything. Okay, because they're out here looking for any opportunity to shoot at someone. And it was not going to be you. Okay, if you're part of my community, you already know that we focus on God, put God first, and let things flow according to God's plan. And whatever they want to do, if they're looking for to shoot, that's not part of God's plan for you. So keep calm, talk to your attorney, make a plan for yourself and your family, right? And know that everything is going to work out according to how God wants it to. And it's going to be good. All right? It's always good. Because we know that the thoughts and plans that God has for us are thoughts of peace, thoughts of good, not of evil, to give you a hope and a future and an expected end. All right? So hold on to that today. Those of you who have watched me till the end, thank you. Hold on to that today, knowing that everything is working out and you're connected to the right source right here. I'm immigration attorney Ife. I'm an immigrant too from Nigeria, and I've been helping immigrants with their immigration cases for over half a decade. So I've seen all the different administrations. There's been Obama, Trump, Biden, and Trump again. We've done it all. We're going to win at the end of the day. So stay tuned for more and join me live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. This will be the first one I've had this year, but really that's a time that works for me every Thursday. So let's save that date. You can subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or just follow me if you are on Facebook or Instagram, wherever. You can follow me and stay connected for more updates on what's going on in immigration. And again, it's not going to be the typical breaking news, fear. It's going to be, focus on yourself, focus on God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Okay? Y'all have a blessed evening, and I'll see you next week.